What's good with the YouTube? You already know Big Flocker with a convict's perspective, and I'm gonna smash, dash, and slide on through that little bit of energy, man. Please hit the like, subscribe, comment, do all those things to help support this channel, and hit that bell notification for future fire content. So today, what I'm gonna be discussing is my perspective, my views of a few of the SNY movements, the Northern Riders, the New Flowers, and whatnot, and how my opinion has lightly changed from when I was active to not active to doing YouTube and so forth, man. First and foremost, let's get to the Northern Riders. I've been able to interact with a whole lot of different Northern Riders over the last year. Snoop's one of them. Me and him have a cool friendship as far as we chop it up. We talk about things outside of YouTube, man. And I got to know this individual on a whole different level as opposed to what you guys may see as far as in past videos he's done and whatnot. I could see him as a person. He's helped me out with some things as well on his end. Now, for a long time, I had misconceptions of, the Northern Riders. Okay, there's been videos that people have seen of some dudes that are all fucking twacked out, acting like idiots and whatnot. And there was basically maybe like 2 videos like that. And see, what ends up happening, right, is because you have a select few individuals that see these 2 individuals, it categorizes everybody. There was experiences in Tracy where some of them did not know how to conduct themselves. And a lot of those dudes, from my understanding, were not even riders. So it left a bad taste in a lot of people's mouths because this is what you see. This is what you experience. Because San Quentin first floor as well, first tier, same thing. It was more what you call peseta behavior. And what I mean, there's a difference between someone who's inactive PC and peseta behavior. Peseta behavior would be cell soldiering and doing stuff like that because you're not going to be able to touch that person, right? Now, since then, I've learned a little bit more about the riders. Now, I don't support the movement. I'm not against the movement. I understand the movement, is what I will say. There's some good individuals within this movement. Some of them were fucked off politically. Some of them didn't want to play into the politics, And I think that's key for people to look at, man, that see Snoop and a lot of others, man, Fast Eddie, Mono, different individuals, right, that were part of these different groups, New Flowers and whatnot, were able to basically take these groups into the millennium, basically, right? In the 90s, I did time with Snoop. Okay, Snoop was one of those ones that's like, okay, don't ask me to do something that you're not going to do. I remember they asked him to go find his people to go remove the Southsiders. And he said, fuck that, I'm not going to ask them something I wouldn't do. And he partook in it, right? And so that he always had issues a lot of times with the Hermanos. We all know about the issue that he had with Spider and K9 from Sakura. You know what I'm saying? And I've heard through numerous resources, right, that even Non Carnales out there said that he wasn't wrong. He just went about it, dealing with it the wrong way. He went about it doing it the only way he knew how, And I see a lot of active homeboys sometimes in the comments that I've talked to, and they'll sit there and talk about this and that, right? Speaking bad about certain situations, right? The same stuff that they're talking about is the same stuff that Snoop experienced, but Snoop decided to do something about it. He took his stand. He did what he did, okay? Now, for years, I thought it was contrary to my beliefs. You know what I'm saying? Because what people don't realize, right? Whether you're part of an active group, the NF, MA, Camaradas, Norteños, Sureños, there's going to be good dudes within those groups and there's going to be faulty dudes. And sometimes we experience the faultiness by some individuals where favoritism comes into play, authority, status, rank, and whatnot, to where decisions are made that are not always fair. Due process within the Norteño movement is supposed to be guaranteed to every soldado. It's always been like that. But does due process always apply to every individual? No. I've heard certain C's say this slogan: different strokes for different folks. I'm NF, equality's out the door. The cold hard truth, guys. Okay, so Snoop enabled to get people home. And, like anything, they have their own beliefs. Sometimes it becomes kind of hard for me to try to rationalize their purpose at times, even though I know a little bit about certain rules and regulations that they have. I don't know everything because I'm not involved in it. I'm not a compa. I'm not a friend of the compas. I'm just a journalist who has some contact with some individuals from there. But I met some good dudes, man. And I met some dudes that ain't too good from there. And see, that has to do with every particular group. I'm sure that I know personally there's a lot of good C's, still active C's that are fucking solid dudes, man. A lot of active bros, Northerners. But there's also faulty ones. You know, for every time you have a good dude like Carlitos or someone like that, you're going to have someone like fucking Lancho. You're going to have someone like fucking Dancing Bear. You know? And then even some people like have a good experience with Dancing Bear because, you know, certain C's are going to favoritize those they wish to favoritize from time to time. You know? So do I look at them as a degenerate group? In some senses, no, I don't look at them as a degenerate group no more. The proper term for the Norteño movement would, they're degenerates, they're no goods or whatnot. But to me, understanding that life, they're just a group like anybody else. They just happen to be a lot of them on the SNY side. You know, a lot of them on the level 4 180s. And, you know, I don't get into their politics about certified compounds or whatnot. But I'm pretty sure that there's just as many good dudes within their rank and file percentage-wise as there is within the active side. And there's going to be those that are just straight fucking trash. That's proven time and time again. You know, we all come from somewhere. You know what I'm saying? Some of us come from the active to inactive side because it was an unjust call, personal feelings, revenge, resentment, whatever it may be. And some are there because they're just trash. They couldn't cut it in that former life. And the same thing that you'll see on the active side, you'll see on the inactive side. You know, so me personally, I don't look at them. It's hard for me to support any active gangs because I'm not about that. And I don't consider them a gang. I consider them a movement. But like all movement, once you start to get some type of uprise, right? Momentum, a foundation laid. What has happened time and time again within every Raza group that has ties to prison? Every one of them, think about it. Internal conflict, politics. Even though some of these groups are not supposed to be political, politics still surface. You know, anytime that you have to have some type of diplomatic voting process, committees and whatnot, that's politics. You know, so I don't anticipate any of these groups to ever obtain their goal. The goal may be here, and it may be a righteous goal, just like in the Norteño cause. The core beliefs, the values and whatnot that are taught are all positive things. But it's the application of certain individuals that makes it hard to live up to its standards. And that's where a lot of people fall out of graces, basically. You know what I'm saying? So, you know, like I tell anybody, I used to look at the writers, Norteño writers, whatever you want to call them, in negative limelight, basically, because naturally I was still attached to my former associations, you know what I'm saying, affiliations and whatnot. Now I look at them like any other man, you know what I'm saying, any other group that has a group of men where you're going to have good dudes, you're going to have bad dudes, you know what I'm saying, and they're going to have the same personal struggles, same group struggles, same collective struggles as any other group, you know. Same thing with the Flowers. You have two different factions of the Flowers. You have a lot of them that were on Sea Yard, Salinas Valley. I think there's like maybe 10 to 12. And they don't believe in SNY. They don't believe in nothing like that. They're able to coexist with Bulldogs because they don't consider themselves an SNY group. And their focal point is almost similar to the Bulldogs. We don't politic. We check paperwork. We program. And that's it. We're Norteños. You know, whoever wants it, they can get it. Those are the original riders. The ones that were on the main lines. Then you have the new Flowers. I mean, those original Flowers, excuse me. Then you have the new Flowers that are out there in the SNY side, where the same thing occurs. You have good dudes and bad dudes, you know? And so it's kind of hard to sit there and put any of these groups on a pedestal above each other. You know, you're going to have, like I said, good and bad of every group. Just like you have good attorneys, good doctors, good cops, you're going to have the bad as well, man. And that's the same thing that I look at in every one of these groups. And it just happens to, when you look at everything, right, it happens to sit there and rely upon what's going to happen with the group that you're associated with. You know what I'm saying? If you're end up on a yard where you have a bunch of good and solid individuals, then you're going to have a good experience. If you end up on a yard with you have these dudes that have the same mentality as like a Lancho, as a Dancing Bear, you know, other individuals like that, Conejo and whatnot, you're going to have that bad experience in. You're going to look at them in the negative limelight, like I said. Now, if you go to a place to where there's a lot of positive fucking unity, respect, where your brothers look after you, whether you're active or inactive, then you're going to look at that group and hold them in high esteem, in high regard. And see, that's where people got the misconceptions about this topic, man, is that you've seen videos where dudes act like fucking straight fucking little kids, dope fiends, or whatnot that are part of these groups. Therefore, you categorize them as all being that. It's like Savage Studios. Whatever you may think about Savage Studios, when you think 2-5, you think naturally of Savage Studios. You think every 2-5er is going to be like Savage Studios. That's not the case. You're going to have good dudes, bad dudes, those that are fucking animated, you know what I'm saying, that express their feelings. You're going to have those that are quiet and whatnot. And so that's my whole perspective since I've started this YouTube. And my interactions with these people have changed. Like, as before, I used to look at them like, oh, you know what, they're just dudes that couldn't cut the cloth, you know what I'm saying? And, you know, they're just dudes that are cell soldier, they do this. And I've talked to a few, man, and they're no different than a lot of homeboys on the active side. They just have a whole different belief system now. You know, the politics on that side were not for them. You know, Snoop did something, and people don't give him enough credit, man. He created a home for those to go to and people to sit there and say, you know what, I want to be part of this. Whether you like Snoop or not, right? Whether you agree with him or not, he did that. You know what I'm saying? And other individuals like Fast Eddie and, you know, all those other individuals, they did the same thing. They were very, very proactive early in giving a lot of people a home that didn't want to play by the active politics or got fucked over, you know? Now, as far as into their inner workings, I can't say that I agree or don't agree, you know, because I think regardless of any of these groups, I think they all have positive virtues and they have the ideologies that sound very, very much attractive, I guess you can sit there and say. But I think the same result's going to happen time and time again. Whenever you see Raza become too strong, right, what has always occurred? Internal conflict, oppression, superiority, and whatnot. And what ends up happening, if those who feel that they've been treated in an inferior light, right, have a tendency to uprise. You know, all causes, all movements, all struggles, they are built off one thing: oppression or the threat of oppression. So if your own people are feeling oppressed by they can't express their views, they feel mistreated and whatnot, what are they going to do? They're going to uprise. That's why you have so many different Raza groups, because of the tribalism that comes in with these Raza groups is on a whole higher level. The competition, you know what I'm saying? Look at the stuff on YouTube, man. You know, we're supposed to be living a whole better way of life, and yet we're still here judging every other man that's based upon their past, you know? And everybody has skeletons in their closet when it comes to this YouTube stuff. Just some are out there and some aren't, you know? But over time, truth crushed to earth will always rise again. So you can get by, right, in the shadows, trying to fucking, you know, conceal your true identity, but eventually everything gets revealed. Bam. And you see it for what it is, man. So this is just my view. Like I said, I have a personal relationship with Snoop, you know, and I've known him for, like, let me see, approximately 25 years, believe it or not. And there was a time period where I did not look at him in positive light. You know, there was a time in the county jail where he was fucking banging on the door talking shit to me. You know what I'm saying? This was around 2003 when he caught his case. I was bailing out. He was coming in. Trip. But since I've had the privilege to have certain conversations and get to know him as a person, and you know, whatever he does within his own group's movement, that business, that's their business. It ain't me to fucking intervene. But I no longer look at them in a negative light like I used to. You know, I'm not pro or against any of these groups, active, inactive, or whatnot. If you're a good individual, a good man, then I respect you. You know, a lot of people have fallen out of favor based upon those who have degenerate motives or banditos, which are the ones that thrive off the sweat and blood of others. And that's unfortunate that occurs within these groups. Therefore, you get the uprise. You get those that, you know, want to take a stand. And what happens time and time again? As soon as someone does that, then the group starts to sit there and say, hey, they're beliars. You know what I'm saying? They're renegades. They're this and that. You know what I'm saying? They're against the people. They're selfish. They're trying to do this and trying to do that. We don't know everything unless you were personally involved. Then make your assessment. Then make your conclusion of how you view it. You know, and I think that now we're seeing how some of these dudes act. You know, like J-Hands, whether he's active compa or not, it's not my business. I think he's a good dude. I've had conversations with him. Conejo, I had a little rough start with him. He's okay, man. You know, we joke around, whatnot, but it ain't no hard feelings or nothing like that. You know, Ant from Certified Riders, good dude, man. I talk to him all the time, man. He's helped me out with things before in the past. You know, I've helped him out. And like I said, you know, I've met different people on this path that I've taken on YouTube, man. And therefore, you know, some active dudes may not agree with what I'm going to say. I don't look at them in a negative light that I used to. You know, I can't go by what my old beliefs were and sit there and be biased towards them, because there's a lot of good dudes within both sides, active and inactive, man. And that's the unfortunate thing. If every side could weed out the trash and come together towards one common goal, you would see some positive results. But you're dealing with gang members, you're dealing with criminals, you're dealing with people who their whole life, they had to be up here. A lot of alpha males in this shit, man. And that's where the fucking politics come into play that fucks everything up, man. Everybody thinks that they can do it better than the next man. What's that saying? Too many chiefs, not enough Indians? It's so true. It's hard for people to fall in file and accept things the way that they are, because everybody thinks that they can do it better. But there is yet to be anybody proven within all these years, starting back to when the MMA first started, that has been able to do it any better. With that said, it's your boy Flacco, Convicts Perspective. I'm out.